guest here today. We have a fantastic guest. We're excited to really talk football today with a guy that I deem a legend in the football industry, a guy who's really changed a lot of things, especially offensively. Before I introduce him, I have my co-host, Coach DePascal, as always. We're always the tag team talking everything we can, covering a lot of bases, football, scheme, strength and conditioning. We cover it all, and we talk to a wide range. And today we have a great guest, Noel Mazzone, who is, I got to know him first. He was coaching, obviously, for many years before I really got to know the stuff he was doing. But I got to know him first when he came out with the end zone system. And I started seeing it at where I am in New Jersey being run. Coach, you'll probably know this, back when Drew Gibbs was running it at Ramapo.
Ramapo, and then his son was. And I tell you, I really got tied up. Well, I was at the Jets for those years, and I became really good friends with Coach Marinelli up at New Canaan, right? And then Johnny, his son, actually came and was a GA for me at University of Arizona. And so Coach Gibbs, all the coaches in the Northeast, man, they've just been awesome. I love going back there.
It's interesting, and I could go into the whole background of Coach, but I have to cover a lot of colleges and a lot of places. But the long and the short is Coach has been in the game since we played in the 70s at New Mexico as a quarterback there. Started, I think, as a GA there, but has been – I remember him at UCLA. He's with the Memphis Showboats now in the UFL. He's been in the UFL for the last few years. He's been in Arizona. He's been at a host of different schools as an offensive coordinator and quarterback coach over the years. But it was interesting with the end zone system because I came across it with the Frank Laser clinics. Yes. And you guys were partnered at one time with Frank Laser clinics on that system. And I was a head coach already, and I was running I would call it a power spread offense. And I bought the system. I started implementing some of the things within it, not the terminology, but some of the play principles, some of the screen stuff you're doing. But what was really interesting, I was building a program at this time, and we were starting to get pretty good, and we were going to play a team that ran that season an end zone system. And I think we were going to play two teams that were running it in North Jersey. And so what I did is you guys were at one time running a camp. You used to run it like a camp. So I hosted your camp. My guys ran through the whole. Yes, I hosted it at
where?
It was at Palisades Park, New Jersey.
Really?
It was,
I remember I did one at Sparta.
You did do one at Sparta. We hosted one. You didn't come out. It was one of your guys came out and did it. And we hosted some teams because when we were going to host it, a couple of teams that were running your system came out because they wanted to utilize it to rework it. And then I sent my guys to learn parts of it. And then also because we were going to play some guys, let's understand, what they were doing too. So we applied some of the stuff, but we were going to play it. And it was funny because we ended up beating those teams this year. But the main reason we beat it was because we didn't know if they were going to use the terminology at the time. At the time, your system, most of the guys really stayed strong in the terminology. A lot of people now have changed the terminology, but back then, this is 2000, maybe 12, and they still use the terminology. And so they started calling out Rob and Lou and certain terms that you used. I think maybe Detroit was one or something with a D, and a lot of the terms. And I had a really smart kid who was my running back and middle linebacker. He used to be my quarterback, but I had to come in. The kid that was better came in, and he was my running back. And he said, "Hey, after the first play, he's like, they're using the same terminology, I think." I said, "All right, let's go in a series and see if it's actually true." And he said he was so smart, he knew it. So I just said, "Well, just if you know, just run to it."
Let me make a note here. Do not invite Schumann to any more camps.
Yes. He is now blacklisted.
You're snitches get stitches, bro.
I was so surprised because his team was torturing people at this point. And
that's why I always make the point, like when with all these guys, is like your language is your language.
yes.
Right? It's the curl flat's curl flat.
Right.
I mean, I don't care how you cut it, how you call it. And now that's always the issue with tempo offenses, right? When you're not in a huddle, is how do you communicate, and not give everything away or not be too obvious. And do you have to change words every week? All that type of stuff, because defenses have caught up with the tempo. Used to be with tempo, you lined up so fast, the defense they didn't have time to even talk or listen to you.
Yep.
Now defenses have kind of caught up to that. So that's the next kind of step is how do you communicate?
No, and it was a great lesson. We learned a lesson because we used words at that time. We know how to use words. We actually used some of your verbiage. And we used to, it's a great point about no huddle and tempo. Kids used to say, like a cornerback would say, hey, we used to call Sweden was our sweep back in the day, right? And we like our old school, like literally we were in gun, but we would turn and pitch it, okay? Like literally like Vince Lombardi sweep, but from gun. And we would call Sweden, and we would have, eventually we started to have cornerbacks on our sideline when we call it or signal it in. They kind of knew it, right? And for a long time, we were like, don't worry about it. Our speed and tempo will take care of it, and they can't communicate it across. But there was sometimes you would get smart kids. I started to pick up on that. I was like, wow, okay, we needed another style of communication. So a second word or a number, and we started to teach that, and that really helped. What my main point of all was it was such an innovative system, because when Ramapo won the state championship with it, and they were down, I want to say 30 points in the first half, and they came storming back and actually had time to win the game from that point. Because in the old days, even if you're running somewhat of an up-tempo system, the systems didn't allow to make up for that time, even if you got the stops. Your system did that. Your system allowed people who were in significant deficits, if they had the guys, right? If you're in a state championship, you probably have the guys to do it. And you get your mind frame right to actually get some stops and change your momentum. And that was the thing that I thought was so amazing about it. The plays obviously were phenomenal. To me, you were the first to really couple plays and do two plays in one, and doing those kind of things. And I've watched endless amount of videos of what you've done. But it was so innovative. It was such a great system, and there's so many adaptations. And I think I would love for you to talk about this, but Derek played in what you would call probably a run and shoot system back in the day, right? And that system was, big in the early 80s, mid 80s, the 90s, became huge when they still run it to this day where he went to high school. They win all the time. You took that, evolved it into some of the principles, but you took this end zone system and took the speed of the game, multiple plays in one place. Talk about just the evolution of your kind of all the years of coaching and how you started to form these ideas.
So I learned my first offense I learned was triple-digit offense, right? From Washington Redskins. Am I allowed to say Redskins now? I mean,
yeah,
okay with me.
On here, you're good.
Yeah, on here you can say whatever you want.
Yeah.
Back when it was Joe Gibbs and all those guys, which came from Don Coryell and San Diego State, and it was the triple-digit, which is Norv Turner, that whole school, right? So there's that family. So that was the first offense I ever learned, which is under center, 5-step drop, 7-step drop. It was Dan Fouts in the Chargers. It was 585, ball comes out on time, all that kind of stuff, right? And then from there, I learned West Coast offense, okay, which was Walsh and all those guys, and it was more of conceptual, right? You kind of learn the concepts of it, and it just so happened that then I was with Brian Schottenheimer at the Jets. Actually, when I was at the Jets with Mangini, here's who was in our staff meetings was Dan Quinn, D-line coach, Brian Schottenheimer, offensive coordinator, and Brian Dayball. was the
Wow.
quarterback coach, and I was the receiver coach. So 3 head coaches, right? And I keep calling those guys and say, hey, can you give a brother a job? I mean, God dang. I'm out here like coaching in the UFL, and like, can you give me one of those really high paying jobs? But anyway, so I go, so they let us go, and I don't go to Cleveland with Eric that's a whole nother story. But anyway, I stay and I'm basically scouting the quarterbacks and receivers for Tannenbaum at the Jets. Well, in the meantime, I moved back to Raleigh, North Carolina, and as you guys know, right? Ball is like crack cocaine. You got to have it, right?
Gotta have it. Yep.
Like if I couldn't, I would be out there if there was a youth football game going on. I'd drive by. I got to go coach. I got to go out and coach these guys, right? So, so I'm coaching at a high school, and they hadn't even ever won a game, and they weren't that talented. And good friends of mine was Dana Holgerson and Kevin Sumlin and Mike Leach. I met Mike way back when he had just started the air raid back in Valdosta, right? And so I was there, and I go, okay, how am I going to take what I know from Leach? And so I basically just tried to take all the simplest things, right, and put it together. And that's when, like, I know everybody in the world thinks Chris Collingsworth invented RPO. He didn't, all right? I was throwing RPO back in 2008 at Panther Creek High School in Cary, North Carolina, all right? Because we weren't so the whole thing was based on an offensive line that's not very talented. How do I get the ball? So it never made sense to me. Oh, we can't block. These 5 guys are not very good. They can't block that deep front. Well, let's keep bringing more guys into the box, okay? And let's have 9 guys try to block guys instead of just 5 guys try to block guys. So the whole thought was, let's spread them out. Let's spread everything out. Let's get the ball out quick, and let's tempo it, and let's beat them with our. You know, when I think of tempo offense, it's not plays. There's a billion great plays. There's nothing really new at play wise, right? It's all about the presentation of the play, right?
Right.
And so I always thought of offense as not as plays, but as a culture. Like, who are you? If you're a power football team, you're a blood and guts. Line it up. We're going to be tougher than you, right? All right. If you're like in a tempo offense, or what I do, you're like, hey, we're going to spread the ball out, get it out quick, and we are going to outplay you, right? We're going to out tempo you. We are going to be really good at what we do. So, you know, I know you've heard 1,000 times, right? I'm the old Bruce Lee. Like, I don't want to be good at 10,000 kicks. I want to be good at one kick 10,000 times, right? So that's kind of my philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
So then, long story short, I'm going to wrap it up with this. So that year I fly down and I watch Texas Tech Leach play Dana and Kevin Sumlin at Houston. It's like the opening game of the year. All right. And I'm watching it. And this is like watching the freaking Celtics Lakers game.
Yeah, in the 80s.
In the 80s. It's like up and down the court like this, right? Bang, bang. All right. By the middle of the third quarter, the defensive line basically at the snap of the ball were just taking a knee.
Yeah.
They were so tired. I thought, okay, this is what I want to do, right? And so that's kind of what I started developing it. But in my heart, from where I grew up, because I'm an old dude, right, is I always felt that you had to be able to run the football. And so I think that's where the little bit of difference came as you run the ball in the air raid as a product of what you're doing offensively, you know, right, as throwing the ball or the run and shoot. Okay. So where I wanted to really build a run game, all right, that the passing game fed off of the run game. You got to stop the run. So now it gives me the ability to throw the football. So that was kind of where it all started.
Absolutely. That was part of what made it so difficult, because guys were spread out all over the field, and that emphasis on the run allowed you to take advantage of pass, because you got to make a choice defensively of what you're going to do.
Yes.
And the only way you could really you'd have to have superior players that you could just straight up play like some version of man and get after it. Because if you were in zone and if you didn't have enough guys, like you could have one, but if you didn't have enough guys to really just go across the board, and you had to play, it was really, really difficult. And you needed disciplined players on defense to be able to have a chance. And they had to be athletes because you didn't know where it was going to go. And I think that's what, like, I always felt like through Gibbs, when I bring him up just because I got to know him before he passed, and I was coaching in for a while in the same area that he was, and everyone always like, oh, Drew wants to throw it all over the yard. I'm like, no, the problem is that they run the ball. That's the problem.
Right.
Problem is that they got this 210-pound tailback that they run the ball with him, and then they can throw, because what are you going to do? You just let this 210-pound tailback who runs 4.6, 4.7 just run all over on you in high school, So I
don't think I ever have had in this offense. My running backs are always usually historically run for like 1,500 yards.
Yep.
100%.
Back when I went to A&M, my first year at A&M, we were like the 1 or 2 offense in the SEC, and my running back rushed for almost 1,800 yards, and we were running this, and we were doing the same stuff.
It's an amazing system, it's amazing too, because I think it's like translated in. It's one of the systems that I've seen guys be able to take lots of pieces from the system and implement it into what they do. So, and the reason why I bring it up is because a lot of system, like the air raid system, for example, and the people have taken pieces of it, obviously the mesh and those kind of things, but it really was like a package. This is like what you did. And the run game as a part of the air raid, with like he wasn't, Mike wasn't really even like calling run plays, right? They were like calling it because,
green or blue, green or blue,
exactly.
Yeah.
So what your system allowed is like, hey, I could take these. I don't know if it was intentional, by the way, but it allowed coaches to grab things from that system and say, I run XYZ offense, but these things, these packages, or these plays are very simple for me to teach, and this allows me to have quote unquote an RPO, quote unquote a dual place of play that could throw a team completely off. So
it was Coach. It was never meant for like, okay, by the book, put it in. If you don't put all these pieces in, the offense doesn't work. It was meant like, I really want to just kind of give back to the high school coach, especially after I spent a year coaching high school ball. I figured out is that our pay structure is all screwed up in football, because the guy coaching at Panther Creek High School with no players and having to win games, he's the guy that should be making $1 million, because he's got to line the field. His kids might have dentist appointments and not show up to red zone meetings. I mean, he's walking off the field, and dads are yelling at him because his 5'9" son who can't play guard he should be playing more. I mean, I was like, oh my God, this is like the hardest job ever, being a high school coach, right? My jobs were easy. I just did football, and I showed up, and all my bags were lined up. The field was lined, everything. I blew a whistle. Guys handed me scripts. Guys were doing all my work for me. You got to do everything in high school, but it was basically meant to give back to the high school coach, just something to use. If they just took one piece of it, all right, then it helped fit into what they were doing, then I was happy.
There's no doubt about it.
That's so funny to hear, like, because it's so spot on, right? And it's just the evolution of it. It's wild, right? And even for us, we look at it like, the bigger school that we're at in terms of, okay, well, maybe I have guys that only play offense or defense, and then you look at a smaller school where there might be 27 guys on the entire team, and that one guy is doing everything. Like, those guys are really coaching at it. You know what I mean? It's just a wild structure to look at.
That's the other thing, Coach, because so when I left Arizona, and I kind of I don't want to say that, use the word retired. You know what retirement
sabbatical.
Yes, you know what retirement is in coaching? Retirement is you may not be done with football, but football's done with
Football's
you.
done with you.
Yes, right. So it's exactly what you said. I go to this team, this high school team. And, hey, I'm gonna come help them and put in an offense and help them. Most games they'd ever run like 4 or 5, right? And I get there and it's like the second practice, I'm like, okay, where's my slot and my tight end and my running back? They're where? Oh, this is defensive day. Oh, bro, I got to put in third down and red zone today, and my 3 best players are over there. Like,
You're on the other side.
how is this? So that was part of it. Was like I wanted to keep it a high rep, where it like I don't really change the scheme so the kid could understand it. I may motion you or whatever, but every week he didn't have to learn a new scheme, right? So and by the way, that team, that high school, I did 2 years with them. We ended up winning state-to-state, back-to-back state championships, and actually set the state record for total yards.
Did it really? Wow.
It's awesome.
I ran the same 2 runs the whole year.
Listen, when it works, just
well, it also plays into this whole thing because, so many coaches try to do so much. And you're talking at that level, like you may have one player that's maybe going to go and play after high school or any of that stuff. But coaches want to try and reinvent the wheel, or, they go to a clinic and it's like, oh, we could do this. And it's like, no, you can't do this. So the simplicity of it as well, I think, is what makes it.
You're 100% right. Einstein said the genius of any system is the simplicity of the system, right? And so here's where we get caught, and we live in a world of information. Mm-hmm. So there is so much information out there now for coaches. And Casey, you can look at you can pull up this thing right here and you can watch, this is the play the Green Bay Packers. You
right,
a million plays on here. They're all freaking great plays. Don't get me wrong. All right. So now you become just a guy that's just putting in plays. But don't forget, part of your job is to develop kids. Right. Yep. So if you're always putting in plays, how do you teach a kid to really run a corner route correctly? All right. So you got to understand it's all right. Time on effort. Like I can't be adding plays during all my time. I need to teach these kids how to run an over route, how to run the mesh. How do they quick set? How do they do all these things and develop their skill set so that now they're a better football player. So if they want to go to the next level, not just a guy running plays.
Well, that's a great point because it makes the execution, obviously, of the play go a lot better. If a guy can't beat somebody man to man, and someone rolls up on them, they're in trouble. If they, it doesn't matter how good the scheme is if they're taking 3 yards back into the backfield. So they got to be able to get up. And you see, obviously, you probably see this at the UFL with levels of guys that you're getting because you have a lot of guys that are on the fringe of the NFL or have been in the NFL, have come out. And those guys are different than probably some of the college guys that you coached. I'm curious, having been in college, obviously, for so many years. And then, although obviously things are changing up with the NIL, and we talked a little bit on the pre-show, and we'll talk more about that. But what do you see differently about how the approaches of kids like that you're working with at the UFL level versus guys that you've seen at the highest of the the Texas A&Ms, the Arizonas, the UCLAs, where you're at? What do you see that's different from that transition when guys are going to the next level?
Well, first of all, you got to understand how hard it is to play at the NFL level, right? And you're looking at 2%, less than 2% of a college, college players get to go get that opportunity. Then the lifespan is what, 2.5 years?
Yeah,
maybe.
So everybody forgets how hard it is to be at that level, right? Those are, as our GM calls it, those are aliens, right? Those are
it's the best way to put it.
Yeah, they're just that's a special group, right? And it's the same way. So I think this developmental league of the UFL is really good. I wish the NFL became more involved with it, but there's always there's just that one and a lot of times it's being in the right place at the right time. We all know that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, timing's huge. Yeah,
Yeah, but if you throw that out, just as far as skill set, they're all these guys here. They're all really good players, and they're all pros.
damn right.
Right? I mean, they're trying to make a living. They're trying to feed families and pay mortgages, and they got kids and all that kind of stuff. And you can see that there's just that one thing that they're missing, right? That there's just that one piece that makes them to that next level, which is the same exact in college level. What makes a draftable guy in college as opposed to a free agent in college? It's that one thing. And the funny thing is that when you move levels up, it's just like a college coach looking at a high school player, right? And then it's an NFL scout looking at a college player, or an NFL scout or an NFL team looking at a UFL player. They're not looking at what you do good. They're trying to find out what you can't do, right?
Right.
And that's all they're looking for. All right. They're looking at like he can't do this, or they're looking for the negative on you. They're not looking at the price of admission that you have a God-given ability to play the game, right?
Because everybody around you does. It's just a matter of the level of it, and doesn't fit what we do. I think that's the most, and I'm glad you brought that up, because even when we look at, because obviously I coach high school, so the high school piece to college, like, look, man, like the biggest jump is, I don't care what level, FBS, FCS, Division III, everybody's good. Everybody's the best player on their team. It's just a matter of now when you get there, all right? Because look, there is a spot for everybody pretty much. If you want to play college ball, I can find you a program. You might not want to. You might not want to go to the middle of Kansas to do it, dude. But you know what I mean? Like, but if you want to play bad enough, you'll go out there and do that shit. And then I think it's the guys that when they get there, okay, and now you're no longer the star like you've been told since you were in Pee-wee or kid, like middle school, right? Now you're just another one. Can you take that standard and bring it up and raise it on your own? Because guess what? The guy that just schmoozed you or sat in your living room is trying to replace you right now. Absolutely. And that's like what it is. And to try and get those guys to understand that, that guy's job depends on an 18-year-old playing a game at a high level on a consistent basis. So it don't matter how tight you think you are with that guy, right? Like, you still have to do your part and go perform day after day after day. And I think that's a piece of the puzzle that guys don't understand. Parents sure as hell don't understand it, because, Jimmy's the best player in the world and he should be going to Bama or Oregon or whatever, when Jimmy can't run and freaking chew gum at the same time. But that's a different discussion.
You are so right. And I wish that the high school kid and even the college kid could understand that is that the price of admission is your God-given ability. Okay.
Yep.
I mean, you ain't even here if you don't have that. And the guy next to you has the same God-given ability. And the guys that can embrace, so that's the checkbox on the left, right? Can run, can jump, he's got speed, got suddenness, got all those things. The guys that can also embrace the check marks on the right, work ethic, leadership, character, integrity. Because if you two guys are like this, all right, how am I?
Where's that going?
Decision? Well, this guy over here, sometimes he comes to meetings late. He doesn't really know the playbook. Man, he's a great athlete. Well, this guy over here, he's a great athlete, but man, he's there all the time. He's got great character. He's a good teammate. He's selfless. So that's why it's a full package. Is it's just not about I can run, jump, and catch a ball.
Nope. Everybody at that level can do that. You know what I mean? It's how can he retain this? Can I give him, hey, this is what they're doing. But look, if they do this, you got to check this. And then if they do that, you got to check that. Can you do that and then still continue to play at the speed that you're at? Or does that 4-4 now become a 7 because you can't determine, whether there's one high safety or two high safeties? Like that's on the fly. Absolutely. How do you process it?
Yep, absolutely.
No, there's no doubt about it, and it's funny because at the high school level, And now with the college level, because parents used to not be involved in college at all. At
Now
least
they are.
at least when I played, like unless there was something like it's catastrophic injury that, you need the coach had to consult with the parent about or something like that. But outside of those kind of things, like very, very, very little involvement. But at the high school level, the hardest thing for coaches you nailed it early on, is a lot of times parents who themselves did not play very far or did not accomplish a lot, but happen to have a kid that's pretty good. You know what I mean? They don't really know all the steps that are involved in the level of talent that's out there.
They don't.
And because they didn't have a certain amount of that themselves or wasn't around it a lot, they now think they kind of overvalue where the player is at. And then, then the player doesn't do all the things they need to do because the parent is overvalued where their kid is at. And in college, somehow now that it's creeped into college to an extent, it's just a higher level of talent. These kids have a certain level of talent now, but now they're thinking that they're this guy instead of they're a guy, but they're thinking they're the man. You know what I mean? And
absolutely. And all because of, I don't know if you guys have it in Jersey, but in Arizona, we have NIL for high school kids.
Yeah, we have it here.
Yeah.
It's not as big. A lot of people
it's not as big yet.
They don't really get it or understand it, but all it's going to take is for something to happen. These guys think NIL is 10% off at the local whatever, you know what I'm saying? But all it's going to take is one, and then you could roll with it.
Well, we already have a case, right, Derek, where a player was getting taken care of because of NIL in high school, went to a school and transferred out of there because whatever happened didn't work out very quickly. So, but that was he was obviously the maybe number one in the country or two in the country at his position. But I think that's the first instance that we probably know for sure. There's probably where we live now is like Central and South Jersey. We grew up in North Jersey, so that's where the majority of there in the Philly areas where I would say the majority of the high scholarship players are. We do have some down here, but the majority of them are up there. So it may be going on in high school up there. We just don't know as much about it. As is. But
all right, you guys, give me 1 second here because I love this conversation. So I have to be on an orientation for a new hire today, but I'm just gonna put it on my phone and set it here and put it on mute and let them talk about why I shouldn't be sexually harassing people or doing stuff like that, or I can get fired, right? Okay.
You're not get fired for that,
yeah. What, coach? Listen, you do what you gotta do. We don't want to be the reason that. I'd love to hire you here in the middle of Brick, or in Brick, New Jersey, but I don't know if I can pay your deal. That's for sure.
Well, see, this was it. 2 weeks ago, I'm in my I live in Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm on a 16-foot ladder. This is on a Tuesday night, 5:00. I'm trimming my palm trees in my backyard, and the phone rings, and it's Daryl Johnson. He goes, "Hey, how quick can you get on a plane?" I go, "Why?" He goes, "Because we need you to come call plays this weekend." Right? So I get on a plane at 5 a.m. on Wednesday. Now they play a game on Friday. All right. I land, they drive me right to the practice. They hand me the script in a walkie-talkie and said, "All right, good luck." All right. I look at the script. I don't know what one word on this script means. Not one. All right. And that's a walkthrough day. We travel the next day and then we play the game on Friday. So I'm in the game. I got this script that has 80 million words on it, 92 plays. I don't know what one word means. So I call a play and I'd have to watch it and go, okay, so that means 4 verts. I call another play. Okay. That means it's outside run to the right.
Yep.
Did you have to write? Were you just writing it down as you would call it? Yeah.
I write it on my call sheet, what the play meant, and then so then we came back, and then they ended up hiring me to be this was a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and so then I shit canned all that, and I put in the end zone.
You're like, hey fellas, guess what? Ain't got to worry about all that verbiage anymore.
Exactly.
And look, and I think it's, it's incredible, honestly, to just see, because, look, when I was playing in high school, the run and shoot, it was formation, play direction, play. 3 words. That was it. And then we were a wristband.
Mouse Davis run and shoot.
Yeah, I'm talking like the original,
like choice on the backside, and I did 2 years of that. I did 2 years of that with Ben Griffith at TCU when he had Tracy Ham at Valdosta.
So where we got it from was Manny Mansakis that was our guy. So his brother, you know, they came out to Butler. You know, look, we were for sure not very fast white guys that we needed something different. And it was, okay, well, we can catch and we could find space and we could figure things out. So let's just do that. Well, but but I also tell coach all the time, because everybody just thinks it's, you know, chuck it all over the yard, which, yeah, there wasn't a year of high school football where I didn't have a 1,000-yard back. Like every year.
Yeah, you guys
because we ran
and run
in
that hand back. And then you ran the
speed option, right? And we ran a lot of jet sweep with, you know, dive to, like, you know, our running back was like a pseudo fullback or whatever. I mean, look, and then we would screen the hell out of people. So that's kind of what I grew up in, with the simplicity of the word system.
The guy's still in that a lot is Rolovich.
Right. Hawaii guy, right? Wasn't he originally? He was Hawaii. Then I think he was at Washington State.
Because it's June Jones.
June's the guy.
Yeah.
Yep. So but like the whole thing is going back to like the simplicity of the word system and how you call plays. So, you know, I've been doing, you know, high school now for a while. I mean, I'm like, guys, what are we doing here? Like, we're talking a lesser minded athlete, like all this stuff. And you want to just like give these play calls that are 8, 9, like, what are we talking about, dude? Like, I don't need to tell everybody what to do. Give them a concept, give them a scheme, like, give them what they're doing, and then this is what it is, done. Like, over, finished. Like, that's it.
Yes.
Then that allows you to, now you want to get a little fancier when it comes to like checks and things at the line. Like, no, 1 word check. Like, if you just see this, bam, now we're doing this. And I think that's what your offense, because, you know, I ran it when we were at Mount Olive High School in Morris County, who Brian O'Connor, who was at Wayne Valley, that's where he got it from. And Brian ran it. So that was my first experience with it. And I'm like, oh, guys, this is like, we're good. Like, this is phenomenal. Like, we can teach this on the fly. We can tweak it. We can do this, like, whatever we want to use. And I think the whole putting it into your verbiage or use words that relate to your, now it allows what happened not to happen to people. Like, look, guys, I'm giving you the freaking recipe, but look, you can tweak the ingredients or call them something else. Like this isn't like, look, like, it's not on me if guys, look, you want to use the same words, fine. But guess what? There might be 10 other teams that are using the same shit. And there's going to be guys smart enough like Dave that are going to go and do that. So you got to make it your own too. And I think your system makes it easy for high school guys to now go and do their own thing and put their own spin on it. And I think you have to do that within a program. Like, I'm giving you this, but guys, you got to take it and make it your own.
So I'll tell you a quick story. 2012, I'm at UCLA, and Dave Scram, who's at Wyoming at that time, right? He comes down to visit me. So it's like 45 minutes before practice, and we're sitting in my office, and he starts talking about pin and pull, right? How he loves pin and pull. And I had never been really a big pin and pull guy. It was a stretch, just I'd call stretch zone, but not pin and pull. I go, man, I love that. And then he'd add a little RPO on the backside backer. You know, we all know the story, right?
Yep.
And so, but this was like 2012, the first time so we're walking to practice, right? And he was coaching at Fresno, and we were walking to practice, and I was with my O-line coach, Adrian Clem, and I said, Clem, in our team takeoff, I'm going to put in pin and pull. Hadn't met on it one day. Hadn't met on 1 second. I just had talked to the guy about, okay, here's what you do. If there's a guy in the inside gap, man to backside, right? If it's a shade to the play, pin and pull the center for the will. If it's a 3, stretch it, pin black back with the center and pull the backside guard. Simple. We'll do that at 3x1. All right. And then I'm going to run it to the open. I'm going to run to the single receiver side. I'm going to just add slants to the backside.
Yeah.
Okay. Where I can remember like it was yesterday. We're walking onto the field, and he goes, okay, what are you going to call it? And I go, we're going to call it Fresno. All right. Because Fresno guy just taught it to me.
Right.
Yep.
Put it in team takeoff. I called it like 5 times in our team, our fast start against the defense. All right. Of the 5 times I called it, I bet we probably scored 3 touchdowns. Right.
Yeah.
So that all that shit's overrated, right?
That's
right.
No, it's not, like I said, I try to tell guys, it's not rocket science, man. Like,
no.
And
I told
players
those guys,
like
when you
want
hear
to do it,
Fresno,
like,
you 3 guys run slants. You block the corner and you guys pin and pull to the right. He's going to go Fresno even. We're going to run that to the right. And the kids picked it up like that. And it was in my offense. It's still in my offense.
It's pin and pulls. I honestly, Derek, when I watch you guys in Mount Olive, that was the thing.
Oh,
you
yeah.
guys, that was that
Crushed
play, that
people.
inside pin and pull play you ran.
Killed people. And nobody could stop it. And we didn't have world beaters, right? Like our running back was a sawed off 5'6".
That might have been the first thing I said to you, right? Like I was like, that play.
That and why don't you throw the ball to that guy? Like that was the other
yeah, he did have a dude on the outside, yes.
It was that's what it was.
But his whole deal on that, coach, was that it was like I'm a zone. He knew he was a zone read guy. I was a zone read guy. I really don't like running zone read with the 3 and the 5 to the backside.
Yep.
Right.
To the backs, right? Because it gets everything pushed. We're blocking guys that way, blah, 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 right? So his whole answer was, well, when the 3 and the 5 is to the back and the bubble's over there, he would just check his zone read to pin pull. Right. So those 2 plays actually are married, right?
Right.
So when you're a tempo team, if the shade's to the back, run the zone read. If the 3's to the back, check it to Fresno. And that's
how easy it is. And that's how easy it has to be. And to go back to talking offense philosophy, right? And because this is where I totally differ from other people as well. Look, like people knew what we were doing in high school. They knew what plays we run because we didn't run a lot of them, but we ran them really well. So I didn't give a shit what defense you're going to run because we ran everything so well. Something's there. And if not, we're just on the pavement and keep going and going, and we're gonna have success with it ultimately. Like I think that's the other part. Guys want to like, oh well, they're gonna be in this or they'll be in that. As I said, look, at the end, this is high school football, dude. Like when you spend all that time and then you go out there and the defense is not even where it's supposed to be, not because they didn't game plan wrong, just because the kid went wrong, and now you're spending how much time looking at film. It's just,
I don't really even care what defense you line up in, right?
Right. Just go do what you do.
What I don't want to ever do is play defense on offense.
Right.
Okay? And I understand sometimes the defense wins.
That's
Big deal. Let's call another one.
Next one.
Yeah. Because one time, it's just going to take one time the backer doesn't bump, and I'm going to hit the slant, and it's going to be 6, and it's over, right? So I really think is that we spend. What I've found is I coach harder, I game plan harder during the week of practice.
Yep.
So it's all about like training your guys how to practice. Is what I think.
So that by game day, it's easy.
Yes.
Make practice harder.
To shift gears a little bit, and I'm curious your thoughts because now you're in the UFL, NIL and how it's changing college football. I'm curious your thoughts on all of it.
Hold on 1 second.
Yep.
Do your thing.
Yep. Hold on. Let me get my mute off.
Well, as soon as he can. I don't want to waste anybody's time. Of course, I know we have a lot to cover here in this orientation. But first and foremost, happy Monday. Welcome aboard. We're excited to have each and every one of you. We'll both of you. This will be a little bit more.
All right, we're good.
All right, perfect.
NIL, coach, what do you think?
What's your thoughts on NIL? And
I mean, I have no problem with kids getting paid for what they're doing, and for this, I think the genie's out of the bottle. I don't know how they put it back in.
No, hell no.
Yeah, I mean, there's just no way. Can they some way structure it like the NFL structured the salaries in the NFL? I don't know. Now you're talking about Supreme Court stuff and antitrust, and the NCAA doesn't want to deal with that at all. And so I really think, and I think Saban is kind of on, trying to develop this, is that if they form a super group of 4 league or whatever with its new own commissioner, they kind of separate, they kind of become the AAA farm teams.
Right.
Yep.
And then if you become a member of that, then they can make structure rules. They could. This is just I don't have my law degree, all right, but I do have Google. Okay, so I do have a lot of answers. Okay, but so I don't know how it gets done, but there's some way they have to, I think, structure it, or it's going to be these 60 teams and all the rest of these guys are just going to be feeder schools to those teams.
Right.
So it's almost like
kind of like what you're seeing now. Yeah, a little bit.
It's almost like if you're at the New Mexico State, Utah States, you know what? Hey, that's the card we're dealt, right? Let's go sign all high school guys, bring them in and develop them just like the UFL.
2 years.
And we're gonna lose some to the next level.
Right.
Right.
And we're gonna get some kick downs, right? From the top level that ain't making it up there. And there's going to be some guys that trend up, and there's going to be some players that trend down. Right?
100%.
Because the guys that are getting screwed in this is the high school player.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Well, absolutely.
Well,
and look,
now,
we see it. Yeah, it's
play forever.
Right.
They can play forever. It's and I saw yesterday too. Well, I know the I saw a thing where Trump wants to sign, he wants to sign into a thing where like limits the amount of outside money that could come in. I don't know how that's going to work. But I saw yesterday where Kentucky is, I don't know if it's privatizing 100%, but they're having a form of privatization to their athletic department where they formed an LLC to manage athletics, which I think we've talked about this a little bit, like where private equity's involved in some way, shape, or form already.
Right.
You know, where when Larry Ellison gave $10 million to helped give $10 million to the quarterback of Michigan, guys ideas are like, well, shoot, I mean, that was a drop in the bucket for Larry Ellison. I mean, he's worth $60 billion, Yeah. So Kentucky doing an LLC there is wild, because potentially you could have the athletic departments almost like, you see in the major leagues, right? AAA, those guys still get paid pretty good, right? But once you get below that, AA, single A, independent ball, AAA is going to be that group of 4 you're talking about, right? That's going to be AAA. They're still going to be paid good, but they're not the pros. But they could pay a guy because, like AAA, you could draft a guy in the first round and send him down to AAA, and he's still making $20 million, right? So you could have.
Well, you're seeing it now, right? Some of these guys don't want to get drafted.
There's a salary cap, right?
Right.
That's the big part.
You'd have to put a salary cap on all the group of 4 guys. All right, You guys got $20 million. Spend it any way you want. If you want to spend $20 million for one guy, do it. But that's all you get, right?
Right. Otherwise, or like what we said, like kind of like, like how Major League Baseball does it. Like, look, the Dodgers, the Yankees, they don't mind spending that, but look, you're getting taxed, right? Like you're paying a royalty or something, so that, look, if you could do it, you don't care about paying extra for it. Okay, I guess it is what it is. You know what I mean? But we're seeing it now a lot more, like, look, we always look at, like, say, New Jersey itself, right? Like Rutgers is the only big power 4 team you want to stay in the state. You have Monmouth University, which is an FCS. Guys are now going to Monmouth. Okay, I'm coming here for 2 years, and then I'm going to go up, right? Because you're going to see the trend, and, certain coaches, depending on philosophy, they still know, like, look, okay, I know this guy's only coming here for 2 years, but guess what? He's coming here. He's motivated. He's pissed. He's still going to work his ass off. And after 2 years, hey, buddy, you go, and I can go recruit the next kid that's going to do that. It's just a different way of doing it,
So here's what happens, right? So then what happens is it affects the product.
Yep.
Right? Because now
100%.
Now you got Gabriel, the Gabriel kid who played in 4 different offenses, 4 different coordinators, right? Talented guy, all right. But when he comes in, I got him for 1 year, right? You're not going to take the time for this kid to teach him, the developmental piece. All you're trying to do is get him to teach him the plays.
Right.
Hired hand. He's like a Hessian, right? Like a hired gun. Like, hey, dude, go do your job, and boom, later.
It's
so I see where it's really kind of affected guys is quarterbacks because we've become a country of read and react quarterbacks.
100%. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Footballizing everything. So flag football, because I haven't coached high school football since 2021 or 2020. I think when we were together.
2020, 2021.
COVID. So I coach my son's level. We're 10 years old, right? And there's other than our tackle football team practices, absolutely. But when they play outside of if they play flag or play anything kind of even travel, you practice rarely, right? So the development side of a lot of the players, the average player, right, is less. And
big time.
Talent level trumps most of it.
Yes.
All the way through. And then what happens is we're high school and college where you could take the talent level and start to develop it, right? Because that may be the case for a lot of things in the youth level. But now, because guys are transferring even to high school now, right, you have a problem with it too.
Oh, God, yeah.
So the development and time invested in the player is less. Same thing in college, like you talked about with plays. And then you're right, the product is less. So, and then the other thing I worry about too a little bit is flag football is so popular. Do kids stop playing tackle football if there's less opportunities for them at a high school? Do you start to get less kids, right? That's why I also wonder playing tackle.
So here's my next theory on that, right?
Yeah.
This is the trend. The trend is 7-on-7 social media. Get likes. Right?
No doubt.
Get followers.
We're in it.
Create revenue off my social media.
Coach, we're in it. We see it. We're in tournaments every weekend, brother.
And I'm not talking about only the players. I'm talking about these 7-on-7 coaches.
Clubs, of course.
They're the worst.
The whole thing, right? And so and then the other thing that happens on that is there's such a lack of big guys.
Absolutely.
Sport because all the focus is on all these guys in the destroyer and all this kind of pylon, and they're getting all this stuff. Where's the big dudes? Well, they're sitting there going,
Coach.
"Oh, hey, they're sitting at home freaking playing PlayStation, right?" So until we involve them through it with all this,
we're trying to figure coach. This has been the think tank of years of what do we do? How do we do it? What can we do? All of these things, because now you're right.
And they don't want to play line either, right? So
that's where I was getting at. The tweener kid, right?
Squad, I catch a pass.
Right. Like the tweener kid that you're like, hey man, go play D line, go play O line. I don't want to do that. I'm going to go play wideout. I'm going to go play this. Dude, you could be a hell of a, I'm not doing that shit.
Exactly right. I'm going to this new high school this year, Saguaro High School, and I show up and they've won. I mean, Christian Kirk, Byron Murphy, Cameron, all the players come out of there, right? And I show up the first day for their workouts, and I'm like, there's 60 kids, 60, 70 kids out there. I look around and go, so are the big guys lifting? They're going, no, the big guys are out here. This is it. All right. Ton of skilled guys. You can find receiver. You can go to 7-Eleven. You can go to 7-Eleven and find 4 guys. You can put them together a 7-on-7 team.
Absolutely.
Right.
Easily.
But to find a 6'4", 250, 60-pound offensive lineman is impossible.
It's why these colleges are overpaying for linemen right now. And I also try and tell these guys, coach, hey, you guys do understand that there's only one ball, right? So you guys want to be that. I said, but at the end of it, there's 5 offensive linemen on the field at all times. You have a better opportunity to play, to see time
Coach,
earlier, later.
Coach, I'm not getting any followers. I'm not getting any followers.
I
Why
said,
would
hey,
you do that?
be an offensive lineman who blocks for Arch Manning this year and see what he gets if he's real good.
Oh, they'll get paid.
Damn right.
Look who gets drafted in the first round: edge rushers and tackles.
That's it, buddy. Look at this piece of the puzzle, guys. Because when you get down and now you start splitting hairs. But look, Dave's. We see it all the time. Like we have 4 guys trying out for 7-on-7 that we're like, dude, you're a tackle. You're a 5 tech. Like, what
so you 2 guys have to come up with some national program.
We're working on it.
Coach,
we have the 7-on-7. We run flag, and I coach. Obviously, I'm a tackle guy, just like Derek, and we coach tackle. But like, you know, today's world, you have to kind of, I don't want to say the word trick them into playing football, but it's like you have to massage them into football, like from flag and to get. But you're 100% right on the lineman thing. Believe me, like even at youth, like it's pulling teeth to tell kids to play the play.
It's like, hey, if you do this for this many plays, I'll let you do this.
As soon as you announce that you've invited 24 O-line teams to Orlando Disney World for the ESPN tournament, right? And they're going to be on TV. You'll start getting kids wanting to play.
I think that's what we have to start doing.
And what you've seen, Coach, is there is certain things now like that in terms of like, hey, they go, you know, you put together a team of linemen, right? Like it's just not the flashy 7-on-7 touchdown type thing. Once you get that where, okay, you bring these teams to a tournament and now, hey, you're doing big man stuff, one-on-ones, but it's always comes down to like, how much more than what else can you do other than a one-on-one, right? Like, without pads.
What's interesting in California, there's a group of guys, a guy I know for many, many years. He runs this stuff in California, and I think it's Northern California. He's Polynesian guy, and a lot of Polynesian players are in it. But now it's expanded beyond that. And their kids have overwhelmingly, like more than any other place, gone on to college, you know, all levels, but a lot. Because the truth is, this is the only forum that they're competing and learning and then competing and then learning. And they do video it. So that's the whole thing. They video it all the time, and they're constantly and their kids are, I mean, they have so many guys that have gone on, and we're starting to try and like, you know, it's a guy I've known from, he was doing it 10 years ago, right? So, but he's been constantly trying to push me to get out, and for many years, I'm like, oh, I don't know. But now I think we're at the point where it's like literally an emergency. Like lineman-wise, we need more big guys. And I see so many big kids who I'll ask, do you play football? And they're like, no. I'm like, why? Like, you would immediately, like, I see him moving like on a basketball court, and he's trying to be a center on the basketball court.
Hey, guys, here's what we do, right? We do like arena football. We start building a 7-on-7 with a center and 2 guards and 2 defensive ends, right? Okay. And so that you get a pass rush and you get a pass block, and you are on that 7-on-7 team that's getting all the hype.
Yep.
That's it. It's just tackle.
Turn it into 9-man.
Yep, turn into 9-man football.
There's no doubt about it. No, you're no doubt, and it's lots of scoring.
So Coach, you're seeing that 100% too, even at your level of the UFL and like all that, like just the lack. And I'm sure you have linemen that are linemen, but just like a lack of total quality, like, or just like, man, if this guy goes down, we're screwed because like I don't have another dude. You know what I mean?
It's exactly like you said. It's the why Ohio State just paid $1 million for the backup center from Louisiana Tech.
Yep.
As an example, right? Not because they think that kid's going to come in and win they need him to win the national championship. If one guy goes down,
it's over.
They got problems. So they're just looking to shore up the reinforcements, right?
Yes, 100%. Look, it's why you see, and I bet you if somebody did a deep dive into it to see the amount of transfers and what it is, I bet you it is bigs that are transferring, from the FCS level to the
Absolutely.
FBS level. Like th're going down there saying, look,
and conversely, that backup Ohio State center, who's a pretty good player, he's like, I'm not going to sit behind this guy. I'm gonna
100%.
go. I'm gonna go play at San Diego State.
Right.
Yep.
And guess what? They're gonna pay me more. And right. So and that's where coach like the whole like the team camaraderie of it starts to go out the window. Right. Because now, guys aren't going to sit there behind other guys. They could give two shits about winning a national championship. They just want to go get paid. And like I said, no fault to the kid. It's just, I just see it. Like, it's got to be the right makeup to your locker room when you're pulling these guys. And Dave references it all the time. Like, we saw it happen. Florida State 1 year is undefeated. They go in the portal and start pulling all these guys. Next year, we're like, what happened to Florida State? Right? Like, where'd they go?
Jim Moore.
Wait, hold it, guys. Hold it, guys. If you see something, say something. There's your tip for the day. If you see something, say something. Okay? All right. Go ahead.
Jim Mora, I think, understands that very well at the level that UConn's at. He's done such a good job with the line. Like, he brought in like a guy from Notre Dame that was a backup there to come start. He's done such a good job of that. And I was actually, as you were bringing it up, I was thinking, like, if a team in college was willing to slightly overpay for offensive linemen, they could act and get themselves, because there's a lot of good running backs out there. Give something for a running back. Obviously, make sure you have a good quarterback and have a star receiver. Offensively, at least, you could really be in an unbelievable position. And depending on the level you're at, obviously at the highest level, you're going to need more pieces because everyone has a certain amount. But like, that's what I was saying. We talk about this at UConn all the time. If Jim keeps bringing in linemen and like in the group of, what is it now? Group of 5 or group? I don't know what's
group
called.
Of 4, I think it is.
Group of 4. That level, you're going to out physical almost all the teams you're going to play against.
And where Jim is, I mean, besides being a really good head coach, is he has the pedigree. So what's the sell point for that guy? Hey, you can back up that guy over there at Alabama, or you can come here and play, and I will call
for a guy that's been in the league.
I know, because I know all the GMs. Yep. I'm Jim Mora,
right?
And I will get you to the combine. I will let you 100%. Help you on your journey, right? As opposed to you being a backup, ain't nobody gonna know about you.
Yep. The first guy I heard use that was
Chase one. So he just got drafted. Yep.
I mean, and look, and I remember when was it? I don't know, maybe 2013, 2014. I remember sitting in Will Muschamp's office in Florida, right? And he was putting on the pitch for a guy. I had a running back guy, and he was like, look, dude, do you want to go play for somebody who's never been coached in the league, or somebody that knows everybody in the league? And I've been there and done that, even on an assistant level. And that was his selling point. And, this dude perked right up when he was like, because all of their goals are what? When you're that 5-star, I got to get to the league. And that's like, and I've heard Morris speak like a bunch. Dude, he gets you going. You know what I mean? Like he's fiery.
He's awesome. Yeah.
That's when they landed him. I'm like, what the hell? Like, why? Like, of all the places, right, where he's been in the league, college, it was like, wow.
Actually, Lou Spanos took over as interim, and he called me. I went up there to try to help him with the offense, but I had some other obligations. I was there for about 2 weeks, and Benedict, they asked, I happened to be standing there, and I told Benedict, I said, hey, you got to do what you want to do, but I worked for the guy for 4 years. This place needs Jim Mora. Jim Mora's living in Sun Valley, Idaho at the point. And they're like, I go, just call him. If you call him, you'll hire him.
100%. Yeah. I mean, it's always crazy to follow, like, tracks of how guys go, and where they're at and whatnot. But you got a sleeping giant. And look, the Northeast, right? Like, now you look at, like, Fran Brown at Syracuse, who's doing some awesome things just because he's doing it a little different and he's, approaching it a little different. And then, you have, Shiano that's back at Rutgers, and a lot of guys in Jersey, I don't really think like him because the high school coaches in Jersey, and this is my take. This is totally my take. High school coach in Jersey thinks their best player should have a scholarship to Rutgers, right? And that just ain't the case, dude. And that just ain't how it works. So I think, some of these guys, I'm like,
how cool is that though? Remember the talk, Fran and Dion, we're going to do the spring game. So
what are your takes on that, Coach?
If you're trying to supplement your budget at colleges, can you imagine you would sell out Colorado versus, right? And so it's the only reason the NFL owners still have the preseason games is because they get the money. It ain't about the game.
Yep.
It's about the money.
Hell no.
If now you had that where the crossover where you could play spring games against each other, practice against each other.
Amazing, right?
That's a whole nother revenue stream, right?
No doubt.
We talked about it. And if you're one of these up and coming, you're trying to get over the hump a little bit or shit, even if you're trying to get your fan base back, something of that nature, let's go. Do a home and home, right?
Here's the downside, because then Dion, as soon as that game's over, there's about 4 guys on Fran's team that he'd like to get in the transfer portal. He's like walking by him after the game going, "Hey, bro, here's my number. Call me."
Yeah. Hey, here's a pair of sunglasses, dude. Yeah. This is where it came from.
Give me a call.
That's 100%. But I also think there's something to be said that maybe, and even though we talk about this too with now, recruiting coach, and you can agree or disagree. I'd love to hear your take on it. Recruiting for certain schools used to be extremely geographical, right? UMass recruited Massachusetts, right? Like the Sun Belt SEC guy, like that used to be where it's at. Now, what you see a lot of, because all of these teams are now in these monster conferences. I mean, Christ, USC and UCLA are in the Big Ten. Like,
is that crazy?
Right? So it's right. Oregon is in the Big Ten.
That's
so
crazy.
Now, do you see like things like that where a goes and plays a Colorado? Would you think there would be that much when it came to the recruiting aspect of it? Like, hey, I'm going to go there because of this, right? Or do you still think that there's still pockets of how, not everyone, I guess what I'm trying to say is recruiting nationally other than, look, we knew Notre Dame was always a nationally recruiting school.
But I think traditionally, the traditional teams, the Alabama, the Texas, the Ohio, they have such a large recruiting base around them.
Right.
And a lot of those kids grew up wanting to play at that school. I think that they still geographically, a lot of those kids come from around there, but they're also very successful programs. All right.
Correct.
If you're a shit program, right. And I could live a block away from it. If you're a shit program, all right, don't mean I want to go to school there. Right.
Right.
No doubt about it. It's amazing.
Right. I don't think any Florida kid grows up. I want to go to FAU. Offense. Sorry, kid. You know what I'm saying? There may be some Ohio kids, but they don't say, "Hey, I'm trying to go be Akron."
I'm gonna tell you, the guy who was on the cutting edge of this was Sonny Dykes when he was at SMU.
Damn right.
And what he did is he recruited all those kids at Texas and Alabama recruiting, and when they committed to it, he was like, "Cool," and he kept talking to them and kept
always.
And so now, because he knew at some point some of these guys ain't going to be happy, come home.
100 right. Well, I think now that's a huge thing, right? And it's why I tell all these guys. And look, it's this. All my high school players, dude, never burn bridges, right? You don't want to go that way because you never know. Look, college coaches move around a lot too. Now, some of these guys take a bigger job. They take a kid with them, or they, hey, I'm going back here. I used to talk to this guy, right? You keep those relationships. So now when they do bounce back, right? It's the same thing for us. If a kid goes to a private school, right? And then it's like, hey, keep the relationship because in 2 years when he's not playing and he's not happy, they're coming back to public school, right? Like that's always been kind of a thing.
All
So
right,
I think you're going to see
all right,
that a lot
boys.
more now.
As much as I love shooting the shit with you guys, right now, the only thing that would make this better is if we were sitting in the square in Morristown at a bar and we had a couple IPAs in front of us.
There you go, buddy. Coach, appreciate you.
And maybe we'll make that happen one day. But yeah, you guys want to call me back? We'll talk about whatever you guys want to talk about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Coach,
Yes.
absolutely.
It's been great having you on. We can't thank you enough.
Thank you so much, Coach. Thank you so much.
Hey,
We'll stay in contact.
I think I got your number, Dave. Will you shoot me your number, Coach?
Yes.
Yep.
Will you guys text me your number so we can stay in touch? All
Yep.
right?
I'll text it over to you. You got it, Coach. All right.
Thanks,
Have a
man.
great day, Coach.
Yeah, I'd hate to leave,
Thanks,
but I got
Coach.
this
Appreciate
what
you.
I got to do.
Coach, it's your job, man. You got to go. You're good, dude. Go get it. Appreciate you, buddy. Yeah. Coach, see something, say something.
Yeah, say something, say something.
See
ya.
Thanks, Coach.
Coach. That was great. Oh, that was funny. That was good stuff.
Dude,
That was good.
that's awesome.
I think we'll get him on.
I didn't. Oh yeah, he'll come back, and I would love for him to look. We could. I'm sure he'd be willing to do a breakdown and do all that stuff about the offense itself. I didn't realize he literally just got this job last week.
No, I didn't realize that either.
Which is actually hilarious that he literally had one walkthrough, went and called plays in the game. That's amazing.
It shows you how systematized things are because he just went off a script, right? First down, second down, third down.
And then gave it, and he was like, all right, that play is
now I know
run on the outside. Right. Okay, now it's all right. Or what you do is it's almost like you're translating it, right? All right, this is okay. Call this, and then here you go. Shit, it's wild.
It's great.
Tell me you wouldn't want to play for that guy though.
That was a great podcast. I'll let you run. Actually, I'll call you after because I got a quick thing I got to ask you. And then, but that was a really good guest. Yeah, let's get him on when he has some free time. Just let him know it'll be we could talk whiteboard, do whiteboard stuff, because his system is
awesome.
I love it. Yeah,
and it's so easy.
It could be a whole system. It could be a piece for you. It's great. It's great.
You could take chunks of it and whatever. I mean, I just thought the simplicity of it, and that's why that was great hearing the reason he even put it all together was because he's like, hey, I was helping out in high school and it was a fucking disaster. It was a shit show. And I didn't realize how much you guys have to you know what I mean? So how do I make it easier for this guy to have an offense? That's cool to think about.
That is cool.
The whole, the reason this whole thing is around is because I did 1 year of that shit and it was wild.
What's changed in football more than anything else that football used to be top down. It's really bottom up.
And he talked about it, dude.
I mean bottom up. I mean high school bottom up. But it used to be top down. Whatever the NFL did, everybody else did, right?
Now
it's slowly. I mean, look. I mean, you could point to Oklahoma and the Wishbone and guys that started mainstream pushing up.
Right.
But when high schools started to implement innovative systems and you saw plays in college, that's when you're like, wow, this is really becoming because if you saw college run triple option, then you might run triple option. Now you're seeing a guy like Coach Mazzone innovate something at a high school level, bring it to college.
Absolutely.
And it's amazing. And look, the go-go offense. The go-go offense is from high school. He took it because he was
the simplicity
level. Yeah,
that's what you know what I mean. I guess I just never realized how different, growing up in the offense that I had. The simplicity of it, formation, direction, play, done. It's wild, to think about that. The other stuff, I mean, look, when I got to Bosco, the play calls were John Gruden status, everybody, and I'm like, oh my God. And not only this, but the guy's got to run to the sideline to get the play every time. How do we get a play off? Right. So I learned efficiency, right? And like, attention to detail on all that stuff. But I looked at it like, dude, these are like the top players in the state here. And sometimes they screw stuff. I couldn't even imagine trying to do it with, lower level guys or guys that don't have that capacity. I mean, just wild to think about. So, I just think look, and a lot of people run that offense, dude. Like,
oh yeah. What is interesting is that when people have all the best guys, how they start to go back to traditional systems versus just like running it more innovative. Like I would say, like Drew, he deserves credit for this. Drew Gibbs was one of the few guys who, when he started to have the better guys on, he stayed with that system, and it basically made him into a power. Same. I mean, look at you could see it in even in the public, like Old Japan stays with that system. It's an innovative system.
They do. They just tweak it every year to their players, right? Like, hey, maybe this year we're going to focus on this part of the offense, or maybe this year it's more this, which
first run,
correct. Like, yes, we're more of a run team, a pass team, or an RPO team. That's what's great about that system. Those pieces can be dialed up or dialed down, or you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't go away from it because it's your system. You just emphasize, I guess, pieces of it more so.
No doubt. All right. Well, let me just give you
awesome. Give me a call.
Yep. All right. Bye.